All right, we're live.
All right. Welcome to Fiesta Friday, guys. We are here with a holiday edition, so no news really from the market today. But we are going to, of course, discuss Meta news. Meta dropped a bombshell on anything related to what's happening in the AI trade. There's questions on demand and durability. If Meta is moving into Amazon's AWS side, or if it's more going to be on the Neo Cloud, lots of implications. And so we're going to break it down for you and also touch a little bit on some Alex Karp interview and comments on inference. Today, of course, we're going to do a lot of Q&A. So if it's unrelated to those two topics, feel free to ask a question. Doesn't even have to be about investing or stocks, but Tevis, how are you? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna say good. Sorry we're late. That's my fault. Just been running around like crazy trying to get this very like bootstrap setup going. So hopefully you guys can't hear the fan. And yeah, Timu Mike, fucking deal with it, guys. I'm gonna be back in Canada next week, so probably only one more live stream with Timu Mike, and then we're going to be back to regularly scheduled programming. Happy 4th of July to our American friends. And yeah, excited to be here. It is about midnight ish my time. Have the Argentina game on, ready to talk some
Nice.
meta. There's no AC in the UK, which is like insane, Roy. I don't even know how this is like a real country without air conditioning, but we roll with the punches, man.
Yeah, we've been laughing a little bit here at Houston with like, okay, I mean, it is warm there, but compared to what we usually endure, but we're used to it and we do have air conditioning, so it's a little bit different. Yeah, here on a holiday edition, of course, Messi is playing here at the same time, so thank you guys for being with us as well. Tevis, let's start with the meta stuff, and we'll save the Palantir. That'll be a little shorter segment. We'll have a lot of heavy Q&A this time. This is
So,
what rolled out this week.
fun fact,
Meta, if you can bring this.
Roy, I haven't actually seen the Palantir interview with Carp, so I'll be having like a first time
Oh,
react. I know it was like a 20-minute interview, and I saw like commentary. I haven't seen the actual interview, so we'll get to that. But that's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. So
yeah,
listen,
I've got a 7 minute clip that we can kind of listen to and then pause partway through. I don't remember if there's some of the characteristic carpisms in there, but yeah, it was a good one. Okay, the Meta news. So Meta announced, or this isn't even Meta announcing. This is a rumor that originally was on Bloomberg, and it indicated that Meta was going to make a push into the cloud business, which is interesting. I have, of course, a video breaking down implications on CoreWeave and Nebius, but we're going to talk a lot about it here today. So of course, the initial reaction was the CoreWeave Nebius especially tanked. If you look at CoreWeave, I believe it's about a quarter of the bookings is from Meta, and more than that for Nebius. It's something closer to 33%. Do you recall, Tevis?
sorry, repeat that one more time.
What percentage of Nebius's backlog is
Oh, I have no clue.
Meta?
I have no
Okay,
clue.
yeah, it's higher. I think it's 33%. Double check me on that. If there's a Nebius bull in there, let me know if you know it. But it was pretty interesting. So, but this was just based off of a rumor. There's nothing here credible, but it really shouldn't have surprised anything. So we saw a similar move with SpaceX. All this is really is them saying that there's a rumor that they will sell excess capacity in the future if they end up overbuilding. And they pulled some comments in both the original article and also this recap as well. And so Zuckerberg had said that the cloud computing business is definitely on the table. He said that people were regularly asking if they had compute that they could buy some premium for what they did. So, Tevis, I know you saw this news. Is the reaction right for CoreWeave, for Nebius? Are you concerned because you have a lot of Nebius? I saw you might have bought one of the names as well.
Yeah.
What's
Look,
your reaction?
I think the reaction is that this is oversold because, well, a couple of reasons. Number one is I don't think the meta news is all that honest, let's say. And I've been procrastinating doing a video on this because of traveling, but like you have this news that there's internal rumors that AI is not progressing as fast as they had hoped with their models. And Alexander Wang, I mean, we can check out his tweet he posted about their new model, the codename Watermelon. Then
Yeah.
you also have like they're spending 200 plus million per month in terms of their token usage, and then all of a sudden they have excess backlog. Okay, you know, I don't see that being the case. I think it's something that we have all of this capex spend for Meta, and if they say they have excess capacity, like that's what the market wants to hear, and it's going to re-rate them higher. And the fact of the matter is that like you had 10 analysts that came out with $800 price targets on Meta right after because of this news. And so I think it's just a stock bump. I don't necessarily think it's anything material at the moment. Now, that's the first piece. Like, I'm not even taking the news at face value. The second piece is the sell off in CoreWeave and Nebius for this thing to have been down 20% at one point. It's staggering. With the thesis that like, oh, if Meta builds in house and they have excess capacity, they don't need Nebius. It's like that's far from the truth. They do need all of the smaller players possible because the demand is still going to far outstrip the supply. It's not like that excess capacity is gonna like they're not gonna sell that or whatnot. And plus, it's a lot of a conversation around what premium can they charge on top of that excess capacity. Can they actually make additional margins on that? So I think it's more of a macro demand point being very strong as opposed to a lack of reliance on Nebius or CoreWeave on others. And I think the sell-off was overdone, and that's why I started a CoreWeave position. And yeah, I mean, I didn't really take it to heart for Nebius. Nebius was up like 50% in a week about 2 weeks ago from 200 to almost 300, and now they're back to close to 200. That's just what it is, man. Like it's the good and the bad. That's a double-edged sword that you get. But I do think this was mostly algos, and this was mostly take profit event, and maybe we might have a little bit more pain ahead. But I think the macro thesis is still very much intact, and this doesn't change the fact because Meta is doing a lot of business with Nebius, and they want to maintain that relationship even further. And I don't think this changes anything because Meta can come out, a month from now and be like, oh, well, we don't have any excess capacity or whatever. And like, great, like Zuck made a play to give his stock a bump, right? And right now it's like this company, whether it's Meta or CoreWeave or Nebius or whichever, like they're getting a bump just on one comment or one rumor or one piece of news. It's nothing that's actually tangible because so much of this stuff is so priced to perfection for future years that any changing variable results in a big move up or down for any of these companies. And so I didn't really read too much into it. I said, it sucks for my core holding position, but it was really great for my spreads. And it was great for me to enter into a CoreWeave position, which I can talk about. And ultimately, like I did trim some Nebius last week. I made a post about it on X as well. And I used some of that capital to get into ServiceNow and Amazon. So ultimately, I was a little bit glad that I did that. But still very bullish. Nebius still my largest position. And like, I don't think this changing. Not to mention that Meta is my third largest position. So I didn't even know how to feel on that day. Because like one Meta was up like 10%, and Nebius was down like 20%. I'm like, I don't even know if I should feel bad right now.
Yeah, Meta faded a good chunk of that on Thursdays, down a little over 5%. Didn't see really, we saw an initial pop in Nebius and in CoreWeave. That ended up selling off, of course, throughout the day. Yeah, I have more details. I'm not going to break down, all of them here in the video, but there's a few things that are kind of that I think stand out. So one is first I believe both of the contracts. Actually, I know for both of the contracts from Meta to CoreWeave are 100% take or pay. And what that means, and it's just like the market keeps forgetting, so I need to keep reminding people. is it's guaranteed revenue. It's not revenue that's going to go away. There's very very limited conditions. It's not the same as just prepayment, and I mean it just and that's through December 2031, and then the second contract December 2032. So we're talking about like 7 years away. I know the market is pretty forward looking, but that seems kind of extreme. So beyond that, Meta is not able to sell from what they're getting from Nebius or what they're getting from CoreWeave. Instead, this is just them talking about selling. If they get to a point like SpaceX where they have excess, then they'll sell it. Not necessarily that they're going to that full AWS model or anything. It's not bearish for Amazon. Some of the rumors seem like it indicated that perhaps they're going into more of the NeoCloud layer, possibly, and doing something very similar to Nebius. So I thought that the news was at least neutral, if not actually bullish for CoreWeave, and I thought maybe neutral or maybe slightly bearish for Nebius. So beyond them entering into a NeoCloud rather than bare metal type of play, which we don't know, and it's I think the market if it was just based on this news, if Nebius wasn't up big, maybe I think it was like profit taking, like you said. The move would have surprised me. But the other part too is the first contract for Nebius with Meta is take or pay. The second, which it can't be take or pay by its nature, was just Nebius saying, "Hey, if we have excess capacity, we'll sell it to you up to this amount." That amount right there may not end up being sold to Meta, but I mean, so what? There's so much crazy demand out there. Because again, like even in the article, the reason why they're even talking about doing this is because customers are knocking on their door saying, "Hey, we need some of this product, and nobody else has it out there." And it's just like it's really not that bad at worst, and it's actually quite bullish, I think, overall. Now, 7 years out, you can maybe make some arguments, but who knows what it's going to be like in 7 years? That's tough to say. This guy, I thought, had a really good point. This is from the Morgan Stanley note that came out afterwards as well. And they talk about Meta's upside from an EPS standpoint, depending on how much they're actually selling and how much capacity they have sold out as well. These are some crazy prices. Absolutely crazy. And so, like, case in point, like if you're expecting that, what does that say about the demand? And so even like for Nebius, that they won't probably sell that additional rider to Meta, maybe, like who knows, then nevertheless, they are still going to be able to find buyers actually quite easily, and probably for a higher premium than what Meta had even offered. So I just don't see it being that bearish. There's another really good note that came out for Wells Fargo as well. They said that this is actually bullish for CoreWeave as well. Let me open it up, the new tab. And it was really focused on just
you can just
reminding people.
First sentence. You can just zoom in that first sentence. Meta report suggests formal shift into selling AI compute as expected, but doesn't reduce overall demand.
Exactly. That's it.
So
I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So look, I think two things, Roy. First, I think that Nebius is absolutely not going to sell that additional capacity to Meta because it just doesn't make sense logically for them to do so. Meta has put a floor on that capacity, and Nebius is going to go to the highest bidder. And if you can offer me just a fraction higher than Meta can, then that's pure margin for somebody like Nebius, right? So like they're obviously incentivized to find high, and especially if there's the demand like holds, right? They're saying, hey, we're selling into 2027 for demand. They're not going to sell to Meta, right? Because Meta is just putting a backstop on it first. Second, I think all of these hyperscalers are going to dabble across the entire space, whether it's bare metal with their own facilities, whether it's like the Neo Cloud side of the business, like the more like the token factory competitors. Like I think that everybody is going to do everything. Why? Because they're spending hundreds of billions in investment, and it's just a matter of time. I think Amazon's going to do it. I think Google's going to do it. I think Meta's going to do it. But there is still something to be said about the existing players right now and the need for those existing players right now, even if just to bridge the gap, and then it normalizes when the demand normalizes. But right now, we don't even see, like I said last week, like we don't even see the bottom of the pool or the bottom of the ocean, right? Like it is so deep from a demand perspective, Roy, because like we just saw the new version of Sonic come out, right? We're seeing all of these versions are so token hungry, and in reality, like they're just going to continue to be very token intensive models. And I think the demand is just going to keep growing and growing, especially when you get into agentic use cases. And so, is it surprising? No. Is it threatening to Nebius? I don't think so, um, because the demand is really the glue that holds us all together. Right now, if somebody said, "Hey, we're not seeing the demand out there. Like this is a lost cause. We're going to stop spending on AI," then I would be like, "Okay, wait a minute. Is this something systemic or is it something that's isolated to a certain company? And should we be worried here?" But so for as long as the demand holds up, then I think like that's going to be the rising tide that raises every player in the space.
Um, Now, what would really be telling us as far as demand would be if Meta actually had a model that they were coming out with that was really, really token hungry and just would gobble up inference. But no such thing exists. Certainly wouldn't have been released like right after the news of this break. Wait a minute. Actually, Andrew Wang. So I believe it was with Scale AI and Meta acquired basically him, but his business. Yeah, and so this was the a reply to something that came out, but he said our next Muse Spark update is coming soon. Big improvements in coding and agentic capabilities, and more competitive with other leading models. Excited to get these in your hands. And in some comments, he talked about it being order of magnitude higher as far as what they use for tokens and for inference. That it is a very powerful model that is like Fable or Mythos. It gobbles up tokens. So man, I'm not seeing anything at all that indicates all of a sudden the demand is not there. That was the initial read, well, there's like two things. That was the read, and then the other read was like, oh man, CoreWeave and Nebius are going to lose a lot of money because Meta's going to find a way out of these contracts. And the additional rider contract for Nebius probably true, but I mean it's not a big deal because they can sell it to somebody for more money. It's like that's not a bad thing. Last I checked, Tevis, if you have a product somebody cancels and you can sell it for 1.5 times what you did before, aren't you happy?
Yeah, that's not a bad situation to be in, right? But
Yeah, and we've seen like that. That's the case, and you're going to see this again, like this earnings call. I promise you guys, you're going to see this with both Nebius and CoreWeave reiterating, and a lot of the other smaller data centers that they are not able to keep up with demand. That they can't. That they're selling every single bit of their compute out instantly, actually even before it hits the market. That's the conditions that we're in right now. This hasn't changed anything. In fact, it's further confirmation.
yeah, like both things cannot be true simultaneously. You can't have this overwhelming, insatiable demand while still having excess capacity. This is why I'm calling BS on this story that Meta is going to sell excess capacity. Like it's a salacious headline that I'm sure will bump up the stock because algos will trade it higher and analysts are going to upgrade it. But at the same time, Meta has their own models that are token hungry. They will not end up having any excess capacity for them to sell anywhere. I'm sure you can talk about arbitrage opportunities if they can buy it cheaper or sell it more expensive, but like that's not going to happen, man. Like you're just not
Yeah.
going to have excess capacity to go around. I just don't think so.
And they can't quite do that. They have to. They can effectively do it if there is excess because they can't resell the CoreWeave or the Nebius. I did check into that. No indication of that at all, and pretty strong language actually to the contrary. So what they can do is say, hey, we're going to use CoreWeave, we're going to use Nebius, and then we'll sell what we built out ourselves internally. That's not really a model that is necessarily something that you want to be focused on as durable. But regardless, like the market liked it for Meta. I actually think like sneakily beyond just maybe getting some additional revenue from excess capacity if they do overbuild, I think it's actually really, really bullish, and the market kind of missed the lead for Meta simply because this rumor coming out, Tevis, might be a signal that at the very least, they're not going to ramp up capex even further and even faster. In fact, they might be getting to a point where they're like, we think that we probably built close to the same amount. There's some that we need to add on each year, and if we overbuild, hey, we can always sell it. That's, I think, that the way that the market should have interpreted this is really bullish Meta, and not really anything as far as the other inference plays. But Yeah, the market gave a gift. I ended up, of course, buying a bunch of leaps. I talked about it before. I'm usually very careful with leverage of any kind, and so I did 120 strikes for December 2028. So feel like those are conservative. I actually did one small play for September as well, just because the inner degen had to please him. So for you, you bought leaps. Did you? I think you posted the strikes.
Yeah, I mean, I just pretty much followed you into your leaps because why not? I think CoreWeave is trading at an incredibly uh, attractive valuation right now. So I bought, let me see, I bought 4 leaps for CoreWeave January 2028 for $120. Like I'm pretty sure like the exact same ones that you bought. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah. January's instead of December's, but I mean, like, those are solid.
oh, you bought like 1 year more than me, basically.
Yeah, they had them out to December 2028, so I ended up doing
Yeah,
this.
no,
But
I didn't buy that because I figured like the time value would just mute all like if we have a big move in CoreWeave, like at 120 or at 130, or I can flip those leaps in a month and still make a great profit. Versus if it's like 2 or 3 years out, then the time value is going to mute a lot of those. But I mean, yours are way safer than mine are. Um, Look, what I will say around the CoreWeave leaps is like, look, CoreWeave is trading for ridiculously cheap after that meta sell off. I didn't have a position in shares, nor did I really want to have a position in shares at the moment because my Nebius position is so large. But I wanted to take advantage of the mispricing, let's say, as CoreWeave gets re-rated. I think that those leaps are going to do very well. Now, what I also went ahead and did, Roy, so I bought 4 CoreWeave leaps and I paid $29 for them, 120 strike January 2028. And then what I did was I sold 4 cash secured puts on CoreWeave for October of 2026 at $90 strike price.
yeah,
And I got paid about $19. And so I paid 29 for the January 2028s and I got paid 19 for the Octobers. So if CoreWeave is trading above $90 a share, then the difference that I'll have is about $10 for those leaps that I paid. If CoreWeave is trading under $90 a share, then I have to take assignment of like 400 shares of CoreWeave, um, which is like,
get to, not have to.
yeah, exactly. I get it. And the average, like the break even price is like in the $70 or low 80s, whatever. So I figured it's a pretty good deal for me, and it's something that not hedges, but like lowers my the price that I need to pay. Right, the net cost is lower. And if not, I get to own shares at 90. And if yes, then I get some very cheap leaps because they're subsidized by my cash secured puts. What do you think about that play?
I like it. I mean, like, anytime that you write cash ticket puts, if it's a strike that you're like, hey, I would have bought there anyway, and it's a company that you would like to own, there is, some potential downside, but it's about the safest way you can do options. And for you, like that, at 90s, it's a little bit in the money, so it's a little bit more aggressive, but I don't think it's anything wild. Like this earnings, there's very strong indications because of the underwriting of that debt issuance that they did about 2.5 weeks ago, that their bookings are quite a bit ahead of where analyst expectations are. And that should probably excite the market. Like, there's no guarantees. Like, the market might be like, oh man, that's really bearish because we're really dumb and we don't know how to read numbers. Like, that happens. Reading is hard, and the market sometimes misses it. And that's just an opportunity to get in. But yeah, I think that you'll probably not take ownership, and even if you do, it's not a bad price at all for a company. It's just has an insane demand.
If you think about it, like the break even price, if I got paid $19 and it's at 90, then I basically have a break even price of like $70 on CoreWeave. And I don't think so, simply because it's until October. So you have July, August, September, and then October. You got 4 months essentially to climb over 90. I think that's a very like time is in your favor. And if CoreWeave is trading anywhere around $70 by October, like either something has gone insanely wrong or this is going to be like I'd be building a huge position at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll take time. Like sometimes when the market does this, we saw this with Nebius when it was pushed below 70 for a while. It takes a while just for the narrative to dispel and for the market to realize, oh, we actually had it wrong. But yeah, I paused, when I saw the news came out, and I was like, it doesn't seem that bad to me, and had to double check some things. So the next day I was like, yeah, I'm buying leaps. I may actually add as well on Monday, especially if we sell off into Monday. Long holiday weekend, so we'll have to see.
Judy, thank you. Judy with the $5. Thank you. Popping in from the Argentina game, which, by the way, Messi literally just scored as I'm reading this out loud. I'm watching it on the screen. The dude's
Awesome.
on fire. And Judy says, no, Meta won't kill Nebius. I don't think Meta is going to kill Nebius either. But yeah, we'll see how those cash secured puts go, Roy. And I think I'm pretty happy to be in CoreWeave. In ServiceNow, back in Amazon. Like I'm just spreading out a lot of the concentration that I had over the past several months.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk then the Palantir right quick. I guess two things. Let me pull this up. Well, let me pull up one other thing too. Oh, 1 second. So Palantir has been on quite a roll, and it's just one of those things where I came out with a video and I messaged you as well, and I was like, oh man, for whatever reason I got the price to earnings growth wrong on ServiceNow. But I fixed it in the article. I put it in the notes and everything. It's like it's already published, so sloppy on my end, but I'll try to be better. So a couple of things. One is, let's do that. Okay, right here. It's been quite a week. It's been up almost 20% over the last 5 days. I think Tanner scalped it at like 107 or something when he got in. And I'm like, man, he pretty much nailed the bottom. I have an article that goes into details on why Palantir is a buy. And this, just to correct the what's out there. Let's see. I think it's close to the end of the article. You guys can go see this on Artemis if you want. It's free. Here's the correct price to earnings growth. So if we look further out, Palantir is not. So these are analyst assumptions. And if Carp is at all right that they're going to grow 100% revenue next year, Palantir is actually a screaming buy. It's a 0.39. Probably it's going to be somewhere in between his estimates and what analysts expect. But yeah, ServiceNow correctly is 0.91 peg. This is for 2027 and 0.77. Palantir is not that bad at 1.34 and 0.86. Under one is usually considered a buy. CRM is quite low, but note that that's not organic, and so you can actually see the PEG here because of a couple of different factors. And you can see relative to SaaS, Snowflake is a 2, Datadog is a 4, CrowdStrike is a 4. You would think that kind of premium would be something that Palantir would get. So, but I'm not just arguing for multiple expansion on that and also for ServiceNow. But yeah, these two are definitely cheap. So you made the bet on now. I'm betting on Palantir. I think we'll both be right and both be rewarded, but time's going to tell. Before we watch...
At this valuation, I don't have anything bad to say. I think Tanner made a great move. I know you guys were bugging me about it in the DMs as well. I have nothing bad to say about it. I could definitely see myself getting in. But yeah, I think the now play, like we said before, was just as a result of valuation. Before we get to this interview, I kind of want you to comment on this. Is this true? This user says Palantir is highly likely to lose the NHS deal early next year, purely political rather than performance. I have no context.
So there is an early exit clause in that contract with the NHS. It's not as clear-cut as people are saying. I think that there's a decent chance of them losing the contract. I wouldn't even say that it's a favorite. Now the ROI is absolutely there, but it's rarely do politics and logic and reason actually go hand in hand. It's usually the opposite. And that's case in point with Palantir and what's going on in Europe and also the UK. So the early exit clause would end up losing, I think it's 70 million per year on the contract, if I'm not mistaken. It's not the end of the world. I did do a couple of end of the world type of scenarios where let's pretend that Palantir loses every single bit of their international revenue all at once instantly. What would that actually look like for the company? And let me stop my screen and let me just show you this real quick. So if we go into financials, and we're going to go into KPI as well. And let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the, let's remove the percent change here. Let's do US government revenue, just the total, United Kingdom, and rest of world as well. And we're going to see this, yeah, okay. Post, there we go. Wrong one. All right. And then we're going to stack it up as far as a bar. And then we're going to look at it on a quarterly basis as well. Okay. So this massive blue bar is US government. If you look at this, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at this and say, man, the rest of these really haven't grown that much. Orange has some, but yet purple really hasn't that much. And it's the blue, it's the United States, both government and commercial side, we could break that out further, that has grown just instrumentally. And so we can see here, United Kingdom itself gives about 130 million per quarter, 125, 114 is their second largest hub, which is why they break it out. NHS is a large chunk of this, but it's not all of this at all, or even anywhere close. And the rest of the world itself, a lot of that's from Southeast Asia, mostly South Korea and Japan. There's some other contracts out there as well, of course, but those are the ones that are actually growing. And largely in Europe, it's just not. So there's one French contract that I think is pretty likely that they'll lose. That's, compared to the NHS, a small drop in the bucket. But if they lost all of this revenue, all of it completely, that's going to be $480 million. It's literally impossible, not going to happen. Look how much they grew over this last quarter. Now, a lot of it was, even if you just look in U.S. government, that would take 2 quarters, not U.S. government, in the U.S. side, it'd take 2 quarters to replicate that growth. That's how fast they're growing. And so once you get past the hard comps of the literal impossibility of losing every single contract outside of the United States of America at the same time, which I'd say NHS, 33% chance. The one in France, probably 75, maybe 85% chance. I think it's pretty good that they lose that one. Not great that they lose it, but very likely. Those are really it, other than some smaller contracts and the sheer amount of growth that they have as far as U.S. government. It's not great for the long-term TAM if that happens. Don't get me wrong. It's not a good thing, but it's not going to really derail this trend at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's going to derail the fundamentals over the long term. I think they're going to absorb that and keep growing. But from a perception point of view, and especially from like a news factor, like if this comes out, a lot of people, especially uninformed people like myself, for example, that don't know the ins and outs, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like they can lose deals too. Like I think that you're going to get a negative news cycle. You're going to get a stock hit temporarily. And ultimately, like you're going to have these tough comparable periods that you're coming up for from the growth rate perspective. So just one or a few hits can make or break that percentage point. Like if they grow, 90% versus 92% expected, like that stock is going to drop like, 15% overnight.
Right.
I'm not saying it's warranted. I'm just saying like there is a perception layer to this on top of the fundamentals layer. And it doesn't matter on the fundamentals layer, but it will on the perception layer, I think. But that's all temporary.
Yeah, and it's not like Palantir is trading at like, a 10 PE or something like that. If it was, I would probably just own Palantir. Yeah, like not even any property. It'd just be Palantir.
Yeah, just take out.
But yeah, I mean, like the reality is it's not, if you look at it just on the surface and you don't actually look at the growth and you don't consider it, and a lot of people just look at the ratio and that's it and ignore what's happening with the business and the moat. Yeah, it's not as obvious as it might seem. And the internet just thing, like it is a big deal. It's not going to kill the business. And I think it's just overblown. But like people have said in the comments, it's not based on rationality. If it was based on ROI, like what's the best bang for the buck, what actually gets the job done, what's the safest, what's the best deal for UK residents, what actually saves lives, Palantir easy. Politicians usually don't care about those things.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And like they have no real repercussions, right? Like if there is a sunk cost that's hundreds of millions of dollars, they don't care. Like money is not a real thing to them. It's just free. Like people, taxes are taken for granted that they're always going to be there and higher every year. And so that's like the thing that I like. This is the thing that I hate about the public sector is that there's no real stakes. There's no real repercussions. In the private sector, it's like if you don't execute well, a competitor is going to come and eat your lunch versus in the public sector, there's no real repercussions for mismanagement of funds, for not executing, for anything like this. And so you can have all this like political, theater.
Yeah, for sure. And so he ended up going on CNBC. I'm trying to find
Yeah,
where to start this interview.
there's like smaller clips of like 2 minutes, 3 minutes that people have like done the sizzle reels.
Let me pull up John tube. I bet he has a lot of those. John's a cool guy. He basically reposts clips from a bunch of CEOs, especially Carpet and Palantir. But
again, I haven't seen any of this, but this was like all over my X earlier this week, and I'm pretty sure I bookmarked a couple to see them, but I just never got around to it. So this is going to be my first time reaction to this.
Okay, how much do you want to do? Do you want to do like 8 minutes? Do you want to do like a few 1 minute clips?
Yeah, I wouldn't do 8 minutes. I would just keep it under 5 minutes if possible. Okay. There's like a 2-minute clip or 3-minute clip.
Yeah, here's one from John. Let me tab. And let me know if you can hear it.
First of all, honestly, the one thing that I am slightly frustrated about, when OpenAI or Anthropic especially are talking about critical infrastructure, it only is being used in our product, my product. And there's a reason for that. These things are very, very valuable. What they have done building models is world historic. And just so you see, I'm not throwing shade. Dario is a literally historic figure. And he came from behind, and he's now number one. Almost no one in the I've been in business, whatever you want to call I do, for a long time. Never seen anything like this. Okay, so the reality is critical infrastructure does not run these models without an application layer. In almost all cases, and maybe it won't be all cases someday, that application layer is our ontology. That's a fact. And there's a reason for it. It's not that, as you know, some people love me, some people hate me. They're not buying it because of that. They're buying because these things have to be made safe. And I'm going to trust you, you should trust me because I've never lied BS thing, that just doesn't cut it at this level. And enterprises are run by the shrewdest, American enterprises are run by the shrewdest, most wily intelligent people on the planet.
So one of I think this is a clip that goes into later where he talks about a concern that was there back in 2023 and early in 2024 when the models came out. And people were first starting to use that more than just creating fancy poetry. They were like, what can I actually use this for in my life, in my business, in my enterprise? And it was basically governance and basically who actually owns and operates the data. And we see some concerns with some of the LLM models where it's not black and white as far as if you create something on their platform, then you own it. There's been some pushback against that. Beyond that, there was initially, and it seems like everybody has kind of forgotten this, that there were concerns with if you put your sensitive information, your sensitive data on something like this and you don't have any kind of governance controls. Now, there are some. I'm not saying that there's nothing. It's one of the reasons why he made that claim that any critical infrastructure that you're implementing these on, it runs all through Palantir. Now, I don't know if all means all, but like the vast majority does, just because Palantir handles the governance incredibly well and make sure only people that have access to the data have access to the data. And also, they ground the LLM in the ontology to make sure it's not just getting the right data, but also understanding what the business is.
Yeah, you know who else does that, by the way, Roy? A company called ServiceNow. They do application layer for AI. I mean, they don't call it an ontology. It's essentially their knowledge graph, but it's the same exact thing. Like it's the application layer. It's a system of record essentially for enterprise use of AI that helps all of these different pieces talk together and creates this semantic layer, let's say, where the data sits, right? And so I don't necessarily think like Palantir has a monopoly in that. Like they definitely have a great product, and there's going to be many partners that use them. I took it more as like, oh, this is a wider commentary on the LLMs and how there's other companies that will create that governance layer and that compliance and the scaffolding around application of pure LLMs or AI capabilities in an enterprise world. But I think that eventually hyperscalers could even start to create their own ontologies. I mean, maybe that's a little bit far-fetched, but I don't know, because they have access to all the data. They have access to their own internal models that they've been training. And but like I think this is like he's explaining the bull case for Palantir, but he's also explaining, I think, the bull case for ServiceNow.
Yeah, where I would like give you pushback. I don't know ServiceNow enough to actually comment, but I would guess that their inference graph, if that's what you had called it, is not at all the same as ontology. Like there's some similar ideas there, but yeah, I would be very surprised. Do you know? I know you're newer to ServiceNow, so like you probably don't know this, but what's their security rating for like the DoD? Do you know?
I don't know about government specifically. I don't know about government specifically, but
I know they have some contracts. I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
So I think the government side, like Palantir, definitely has that more on lock. I'm talking more about the enterprise side. Like what I've been reading about knowledge graph essentially is like, I mean, I don't know how you define an ontology, but to me, it reads exactly like an ontology. It's something that like it doesn't store the data, it doesn't duplicate the data. It references existing systems of record and then essentially expresses their meaning in a structured form that AI can interpret across the entire stack, allowing different components to talk with one another in this essentially like fabric that you just run on top. And then within that, Roy, you have like a governance layer so that, okay, this is what I can use and this is what I can't use. And all of that trickles down. So it allows the AI to be able to be used in a meaningful way across large enterprise organizations.
Yeah, so I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here because I don't know the ServiceNow product at all. Like I've never, as far as I know, used any. I've not invested in the business. I'm not like into the technology. So you might be right, but like what I'm hearing, it sounds more like something like Model Context Protocol, which is that synaptic layer that allows integration, that has some governance controls. It's probably more than that. It may be something that's kind of an in-between hybrid between that type of context protocol and an ontological layer. But yeah, I think we both would need to do deeper digging because I know Palantir really well, you know ServiceNow really well, but yeah.
I wouldn't say really well. But like, look, I think fundamentally, like, what is an ontology? Like, how do you define that word? In how I imagine it is, it's something that turns the raw insights or the raw data into actionable insights, and it allows them to have some level of structure and some level of meaning to know when to access what data at what time. And fundamentally, like, I don't think Palantir, like, that concept was around before Palantir, and I think it's going to be around in varying degrees, regardless of Palantir. Like, Palantir is one of the leaders in the space, maybe the leader in the space for this because they have such a rich history, but I don't think they have a monopoly in that space. And this is where I'm thinking out loud to say like, oh, maybe the hyperscalers can even get into something like this to essentially turn that data into insights. It's very difficult and requires a lot of training and time. And so maybe it's just easier to partner with Palantir. Like, that's probably the optimal route. But my point is like it's a series. It's like logic at the end of the day, right?
It's more than that. Pedro put it there. He said ontology is more of a digital twin of all the company data and understanding. It's including the business logic. It's kind of like giving a body to a mind. It's one thing, or like if you're blind, for instance. You can kind of get the idea. Like I've seen some fascinating videos from blind people talking about colors and what they imagine it's like. So you can get some idea just as how people describe things, but until you actually experience it, you don't know. And so the ontology is giving a body to that mind. It's that digital twin. It's a layer that helps it understand like not just what, but why. And so then the next step is it empowers or enables exactly what you described. So it's more, well, and this is really why for Palantir, like they've been so effective is because they built things in a very rugged environment, like both like their deployment models with Apollo, but also with Ontology. It's not just what's the bare minimum that we need to build in order to be okay here. They overbuild things. They have always done this as well and over-engineered. And that way, when you're in those rugged or very, very mission critical environments, like they just thrive there in a place that nobody else does. So yeah, I'm not saying nobody else can do anything like Palantir. The other thing I'll say, you mentioned the hyperscalers getting into Palantir's business. This was an argument back in 2021 and 2022, and they tried. Right? We saw offerings from Google when Google actually made a couple of different announcements. People like, hey, that's exactly Palantir. It's like, no, it's missing what Palantir actually does. This is when Palantir was really misperceived by the market. Same thing with Microsoft. You saw Microsoft a couple of different times. One was initially a dismal failure. If you look at Synapse and that whole pivot of what they were doing there, I won't get into the weeds in there, and I've forgotten a lot of the things, but it was not A, Palantir, and B, it did not really make any inroads, and it really frustrated people with the way that they made the pivot. We've seen people say things like, oh, Snowflake, the data lake, it's exactly what Palantir does. Oh, now they have an announcement. Now they're doing exactly what Palantir is. The market doesn't understand it. It doesn't really get it. There is some overlap, but there's no one-for-one. And I don't think you're saying that with ServiceNow. I know that they do overlap to a certain extent, but there's a lot that's just fundamentally different with Palantir in the moat there. So
yeah, I think
I don't think hyperscalers will get into it. Karp notes that Palantir has been in this business for like 20 years, and he does not believe that anyone can build something that's even close to this without investing billions of dollars over multiple years. And maybe, but like they're so far ahead. If they stopped and they didn't do anything else, maybe somebody could catch up, but that's not the reality.
I don't know, man. Like, again, I'm just we're just having a conversation, right? I think that, Palantir's product being both in the government space and in the enterprise space, like they complement each other to have the entire system have a competitive advantage in the market. Where I was going with the hyperscalers was more so is an internal tool, Roy, not necessarily a commercial product that they can then sell to others or use externally. It's more so, okay, sure, this might have been a bear case in 2021, but I would imagine that in 2021, it's more around like, oh, they're going to steal Palantir's business because they're now going to start offering this as a product. No. In 2026, however, they do have AI and they have the monopoly on all the data. And I think they could create something super bare bones and lightweight to use only in their specific instances that's personalized and catered for that company as an internal tool.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Like internally, companies have built this, and usually it's the large enterprises are the only ones that are capable of building it. And it's not, and I guess maybe eventually governments, but they usually spend so much more and so much more time that they lose more by doing that rather than just partnering. And I think that's mostly clear by this point. There's some businesses that are going to do that anyway. It's not necessarily the wrong approach. You want to do one more clip with Palantir and Alex Karp?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Actually, hold on. I think I did the wrong kind of sharing. Share tab. There we go.
Yeah. And I think is what the technical customers want, which is control over their compute, their models, their data stack, and their alpha. They want to know they own the means of production. It's not being transferred to someone else. They're not interested in some fake deploy co that somehow is deploying tokens that transfers the alpha to a third party. And the jig is up. And so we have to figure out a way, our products are agnostic. We now sell a product to customers that allows you to switch from model to model and we're completely agnostic. But we need to rebuild trust. And that trust is going to happen where everyone gets to ask and answer basic questions. Who owns the data? Where is it cached? Are the prompts secure? Is this being transferred to you? Are you being okay? If it was so valuable, let's say I can make you $1 billion tomorrow. Wouldn't I say, I'll make you $1 billion and I want 30%? Why are they charging for tokens if it's so valuable?
So then, Alex, if the key, from what I'm hearing you say, is a secure, American-born, open-source model, how quickly can your model compete with the frontier AI models in terms of reasoning and agentic AI tasks?
Okay, what I am claiming, obviously slightly true but slightly self-centered, is it's the model plus an application layer plus compute. It is really all three. So in our jargon, it's the value, the reason, okay, just look at our financials. The reason why everyone is chillaxing with bad financials and growth with losing money is the client refuses to pay the true cost. The two places that actually make money, like profit, free cash flow, are our application layer called ontology and compute. Okay, what I am not just claiming, we can take an open model and in the classified or non-classified context, get it to the point of a frontier model, but you control the weights. So what is the true cost? Not just what you're paying. The true cost is not just is what you make minus what you lose, meaning the value of your business. But we can get the frontier application to be exactly the same as a frontier model without the risk of transferring the alpha of your business to another. By the way, you could do this with a frontier closed model too, but then the clients have to be able to ask and answer very basic questions. Are you keeping the data? Are you going to enter our business? What do you in the classified context? When the Department of War goes to you and says, "I need this application," do they get to control the weights to do it, or do you get to control the weights? Are we really going to outsource the battlefield of this country to the consensus view in Silicon Valley?
Thoughts, Tevis?
Look, I don't disagree with a lot of what he's saying, but at the same time, I recognize that he's talking his book. And that's just
the great thing about Karp is he'll sometimes say things that are like, I believe this, even though it's bearish for Palantir or not the best thing for us.
Yeah, but like also like Karp, I don't know, man. Like he says it like it is. He's honest because he's like mildly autistic like that. But at the same time, like I wouldn't be so foolish as to think everything he says is purely altruistic because he's a patriot. Like, sure, there's a part of that, but also these systems that, you know, they have to some degree threats to Palantir, reliance on Palantir, especially because a large part of their business is government, right? International governments, they have to take a stance. And so, you know, I think that I can see both of those sides competing. But the questions that he poses, like I'm not necessarily saying I agree blindly with the answers that he provides, but at least with the questions that he poses, I think those are questions that we should be asking overall.
Yeah. Can you throw cool as a cucumber's comment from 6:55 or Eastern time? It's I hitched our cart. A little bit. He posted a few. He said, I hitched our cart to Llama. That's Meta's open source project. And that was a fail. Had to pivot for our business, but we have critical PII data. We don't want Sam or Dario to see. I mean, like, there's a lot of businesses that'll do that. And like that's the thing is, I think he has a lot of really good points here, but it's not necessarily something that I think the market is focused on too much right now. It seems like a lost argument from, like I said, 2023, 2024. But I think it's a valid question. It's like, hey, Dario, are you trading on my data? And supposedly this data is very rich. Why are you charging me? And then the other question that he puts out there a little bit later in the interview is, you know, if this is so valuable, what these companies are doing, why are they actually not able to obtain full value from the customer? It's because it's a commodity. Is the end of the logic there. But regardless, you know, this is a train that I don't think is coming to a stop. Palantir certainly has a role. I don't think anyone's arguing that. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But I don't think that people are going to fully trust OpenAI and Anthropic and just say, hey, I'm going to build every single thing in and through your system, rather than say, you know what, let's have maybe an orchestration model and use certain models for certain things. Let's have something like a Palantir or a ServiceNow as an intermediary, rather than putting all of our eggs in one basket. Usually large enterprises will do that, especially when a nascent technology begins to become more mature and you realize, hey, there's some concentration risk here.
I just find it very rich that people are all of a sudden being so conscious of their data. It's like, dude, you've been giving your data exclusively and blindly to Google for the past 20 years. And really now is when you're going to be privacy conscious about what you ask Claude or ChatGPT. It's like, how about we go through your Google queries for the last 20 years and see how concerned you were about, Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella or any of these guys having your access. Like, why is it so special about Dario or Sam Altman? Like, you can't have it both ways, man. You can't get access to the latest innovation without giving something up in return. And that's the way it's been for a while. AI is not ushering in that for the first time.
Yeah. Are you ready to do Q&A?
Yes, I am ready to do Q&A. Let's get started. Why so upset? I'm not upset. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm Eastern European. Leave me alone.
I think he's figuring out, oh man, I should have bought some Palantir too.
Yeah, absolutely. Should have bought some.
But I mean, you can't own everything. Like that's your reality. There's great companies that I passed on, and sometimes it's mistakes, sometimes not. And either you're going to have a huge number of holdings, or you just concentrate in your core convictions.
Yeah, like I'll have this one skip the line. Why weren't you buying Palantir at 7, bro? That's not the problem. The problem wasn't I was buying Palantir at 7. The problem was that I was selling Palantir at like 17. So I had the opposite problem. It's I literally have buy orders for Palantir at like $6.85 or something ridiculous like that. The problem is that I paper handed Palantir, and that's what it is.
Hey, if you can get Palantir again at $6, you probably should. I'll give financial advice to you only on that.
I mean, if Palantir is ever at $6 again, I think like they either did like 100-to-1 split or something, or something went drastically wrong.
Yes, yeah, something is strange there either way. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have a lot. We have 39 questions, bro. What is going on? Okay, I can't do any more questions, guys. I love you. Please stop asking questions because I have 39 to get through. Okay. Immediately somebody asks the question. Okay, 40 questions, and that's it. I promise I'm not taking any more, guys. All right, let's
unless you force us because you donate. You don't have to do that, but yeah.
If you donate, I will take your question. Yes, I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry.
Yeah,
all right.
But you guys don't need to do that. So.
Do you think Palantir is doing some concerning Big Brother stuff? That's their entire like business model, bro. They work with government and they do like, go ahead, Roy.
Not true. No, not true. I mean, like, yes, they work with the government, but no, they
work with NSA as well.
CIA, NSA, yes. But no, okay. It's not like they have no apparatus to actually collect data. They're not doing any sort of like metadata type of stuff. Like that's all misinformation, and it's flat out wrong. So I'm personally a lowercase L libertarian, and when I did not get into this company at DPO, it was January 2021, and the reason why is I needed to make sure, that like with Meta, like why I don't invest in Meta. If they were doing shady stuff and there was any strong indicator of that other than just people's strong feelings or, hey, they happen to be used by CIA. You know who else CIA uses? Microsoft. Microsoft Word is a thing. Like people sell chairs to them. Does that mean that the chair company is doing like, no. Now there's a little bit more to it with Palantir, of course, but no, I didn't find anything of merit there. I do recommend you do your own research. And your own research doesn't mean just watch TikTok videos of people that hate Palantir. That's not enough.
Yeah. What is 110 degrees in Celsius, Roy? Let's do this. Fahrenheit.
I'm an American, dude. I don't even know what Celsius is.
I shouldn't be asking this on like July 4th. Asking you to do 43 degrees. Dude, okay, so I'm in London right now, and these guys are having like a historic heat wave. And I kept hearing about this historic heat wave and the fact that they have no AC, whatever. Dude, it's like 28 degrees here. 28 degrees. Hold on, let me do it in freedom units. It's 82 Fahrenheit. And I'm like, that's not even that hot. Like it's summer, but it's not. Yeah. So it doesn't crack it that often in London, at least. But when I was in Italy like 2 weeks ago, like, yeah, we were definitely in the hundreds for sure. Okay. Risky investor. Hey guys, I made 120,000 on Meta and rolled it all into Nebius dip at 208. Congratulations. With a total of 5,100 shares. What happens to the price action when we open on Monday? When to take profits, not financial advice. Appreciate always. Ooh, you want to go first?
Go first. You can go first.
Yeah, look, I think it really depends on your holding period for this one, but I think Nebius at 208 is I think the sell-off in Nebius was overdone. Okay, I can't predict the future on next week if we're going to go up 50 or down 50%. Anything could happen with Nebius, but I think over the next 6 months we're going to be higher than 208. So I think that's going to do very well for you. 5,000 shares of Nebius is I'm definitely a little bit jealous of you. I don't have 5,000 shares in Nebius. I wish I did.
Okay, so it's just a guess and it's not financial advice. Up or down on Monday when we open on Nebius?
Did Trump tweet some shit on Friday? I think we're going to be up. Isn't it like stocks generally after the 4th of July are up?
There's a little bit of seasonality, and then usually when you're in a bull market after a long weekend, it's usually Monday opens up quite green. It doesn't mean it necessarily stays there. The other factor too is with Nebius and with also CoreWeave, there was a massive drop on Wednesday. Thursday, that drop continued as well after an initial pop. And when there's a large drop in a stock, there's something called a 3-day rule. A lot of investors go by, including some funds, where they say, hey, we're not going to buy that stock. We'll just do our due diligence and everything 3 days up after a big move. Now, those timetables are, not like hard timetables necessarily. And I do think that the long weekend might accelerate some of the buying. So anything can happen, of course. We could see a third brutal day of things getting even cheaper. But I would guess that we actually see some green on the open. Will it stay around? Don't know.
Yes, we are in the Q&A period, Express Investing, and the questions are locked. They're closed. We have 37 to get through. I think we're higher 6 months from now, and I think we have a green day on Monday. Not financial advice. What's your thoughts with Robinhood hitting almost all-time highs again soon and SoFi barely moving the needle? Interesting.
Well, since Robinhood's my largest position, it feels really good. Since SoFi is a large position, it feels less good. So it's trading like on a narrative, and I've done a lot of videos, I've written a lot of posts, I've posted some articles on Artemis as well, of why the market was mispricing and misunderstanding Robinhood, and we're up not quite a double from there, but that moves the stocks in a short term. Right now, SoFi's narrative. The issue is not their growth rate. If it was their growth rate, that would be you'd just be like, hey, look here, they're growing about 40%. That's incredible. There is some concern more so with interest rates, and that's tied to inflation. That's going to take a little while to kind of process out the system. And I think that, by midterms, probably before midterms, even the last quarter of the year, I think that we'll start to see SoFi stock gain some momentum. They're going to continue to execute in earnings. We know this. But that narrative, I think it'll take just a little while longer because it is tied to rates, and Robinhood's is not.
Yeah, I think both are going to do very well. I mean, SoFi, didn't they have big business banking launch? They're on their new core now. I think July 1st was when they were aiming to be on their new core. We're going to see what Warsh does with regards to rates in a couple of weeks here. But yeah, I'm bullish on both. I own both, and ultimately, I think both are going to do very well.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Qualcomm?
I don't really have any. Do you have?
No, sorry, I don't have any Qualcomm thoughts. Jensen says they're going higher, so they're going higher.
Yeah.
You guys think we ever go back to more normal market as far as how much and how dramatic the market moves nowadays? Is it just in my head?
There will be times of that, like the next bear market. It will be, well, that's actually not true. We actually have the largest rallies in the middle of a bear market. But what's happening right now is the longer a bull market remains intact, usually the more margin that comes into play, which is fun, but also dangerous. It's why we see some of these massive pullbacks in some of these names. Like, take case in point, what happened with the Korean news, with perhaps the unrealized taxes coming as a thing there. That ended up tanking temporarily the memory trade. AI trade as well, especially in South Korea. But no, as more and more retail participates, and of course, the longer this bull market is, and I'm thinking it's until 2029, really through 2029. I've been saying that since 2023. I don't think that we see a bear market. We could. So I think at least between now and then, you only see this get even more extreme. I don't think we're also going to get back to the environment of like pre-2018, where it's like, you know, a really good move in a stock in a day might be like 2%.
Yeah, no, I 1000% agree with that. Like, algorithmic trading is only going to get more and more intense. The numbers are only going to get larger and larger. Money printing is going to continue. And I just think we're at that point now where the volatility that algos are creating is affecting entire indexes, let alone individual names. You're seeing, you know, SPY be down 2% because of algos on a random Trump tweet. Like, that's we're getting into uncharted territory, I think, and I don't know if that's a bug or a feature. My guess would be that that's a feature, and that's going to continue accelerating as opposed to decelerating, which is a really scary thought. But hey,
yeah,
opportunities.
Well, I was going to say, for option sellers, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we mentioned green on Monday, and no more questions. What's up? Says Tevis, 2 days ago, you said I shouldn't open an iron position because I have Nebius, and then you go open a CoreWeave position. Shake my head. Oof, I don't even know what to say to this. First of all, nothing here is financial advice. Second of all, CoreWeave is not iron. Third, I think CoreWeave is super oversold, and I think iron, didn't they just pay their co-CEOs like a stupid amount of money? Like, I don't even know what this company is doing, man.
Yes.
This company is entirely decoupling from it's becoming very apparent today than it was 6 months ago who the winners are going to be across those three. And I think Nebius is squarely in the first position. I mean, we could argue that, Roy, but CoreWeave, I think, is very solidly in second, but very compelling because of a valuation gap. And like, at this point, I think if I didn't own either, I might even go into CoreWeave over Nebius at this particular valuation. And I think there's like, 100 feet distance, and then you have iron lagging behind by a long, long amount.
If we were in a world where CoreWeave and Nebius didn't exist, I would still buy iron. So like, I don't think you're bearish on it. You're just like so bullish Nebius, and then CoreWeave you're bullish on.
I don't even know if that's because like their management has some questionable stuff that I don't even like know if I have a trust in that management.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely weaker leadership, and the leadership is a big part of it of my thesis. And we've seen some questionable things. This 1.14 billion, I do need to do a little more research, and I'm going to come out with a video over the weekend on Data Center Weekly. I'll do the updates. It's tied to incentives, so it's not a guaranteed amount. It's 1.14 billion, which is egregious. It's insane. But if they are awarded that, shareholders are also ridiculously awarded. It's kind of like, it's more extreme, but it's kind of like for SoFi investors, the 25, 35, and 45 PSUs that would be granted. If SoFi was trading north of $45 a share, people wouldn't be so upset about dilution, even though it'd be worse because the C-suite would have gotten their incentive package.
Yes. Yeah. No more questions, guys. Jack says.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but is that Albanian?
It's Albanian. He's just saying no more questions.
Okay.
Like over and over again. Is Meta cooked? Absolutely not. I don't think Meta's cooked. Not even Roy thinks Meta's cooked. I think this way. Not even Roy thinks Meta's cooked.
Yeah, like they'll, if they overbuild, they'll be able to sell it, which is like obvious. I don't know why people wouldn't see it. So, and the demand is insane. So they're going to make some money. If they don't, that's good because what they're doing is working internally, and with Watermelon and everything, it seems like that they're on the right track. And then lastly, it may be, because these are signals here, that they're nearing an end to their CapEx ramp. They will still build. They will still build building, but they might slow it down a little bit, or at least not increase it as much. Like, it's bullish, no matter how you slice it for Meta. And I do not like the company. I don't like the company.
Thank you so much for the 1 gifted membership. I'd love to put your name on the screen, but I think YouTube might get mad at me. But yeah, thank you for the gifted sub. Yeah, what fancy benefits the members get? I actually had somebody sign up for like the highest tier of the membership, and where I promised like real-time trades, and he was like the first one that actually Jack is one of them, but Jack never bugged me about it. But this guy emailed me and he's like, where do we get real-time trades? And I was like, oh boy, I didn't think anybody would take me up on this. And so for the last 3 days, I've been posting all of my like real-time trades because he signed up for that particular tier. But yeah, you get benefits. I make members videos and all that stuff. So
yeah, from my end, yeah, I just I apologize, guys, but yeah, it used to be when we did the lives, we do the members, but we no longer do that. So right now, it's not anything. What I have been thinking about, because there's ideas that I'll have as far as like things that I'm looking at, and then I won't feel comfortable ever like usually posting those other than just like maybe a comment on X, just like, hey, looking into this. And I usually don't feel comfortable doing a video because like I don't know nearly enough. I don't want somebody to like be like, oh man, Roy's bullish this company and jump in with both. Like, always do your own due diligence. And I mean, like, I should wear my PayPal shirt all the time just so people know, like, yeah, I've gotten a lot right, but I've also gotten a good chunk wrong too. So overall, up a ton, but I mean, like, we all have losses. So do your own due diligence, make sure you're of your own comfort. But I've been thinking about like very short, like 5-minute videos, maybe like a couple of times a month, of just like, hey, here's some things that I'm looking at right now and why, that are not mature ideas yet. Just kind of a like, maybe look into this too. So if you guys would be interested in that, if you're members, if you're not, it may be worth nothing to you. That's totally fine. But yeah. And I say 5 minutes. I can ramble on, so it'd probably be more like 10.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. How much can we trust the future markets from European with Nebius 10% spike? Can we see this when the market's open? Yeah, what I'll say is European markets, especially in after hours, it's like super thin volume. I wouldn't trust it that much. Directionally, I would trust it, but not necessarily to the same degree of volume.
Yeah, you would have to see a lot of volume on it, like an absurd amount, and I don't think it's there. I'm guessing.
Yeah. All right, next question. Roy, are we hoodlums back?
Yeah, they had a pretty good event. They have one in September here in H-Town, which is awesome. They're doing so many things right. And the market is really recognizing that, which actually kind of surprises me. I thought that Robinhood might stay down a little while longer, but man, I love this. And I love it too, Tevis. Like, going into the week, I'm like, I'm not touching covered calls. Just historically leading up to an event, and then usually during the event, which oftentimes fades, they see a nice little pop. And I'm like, let me just be careful. Like the stock, if you look at it from a TA standpoint, it's incredibly bullish as well. So yeah, be careful with covered calls. Sell on places you'd be okay selling this stock. Not wrong to take profits.
All right. Does guys still think Meta still buy more compute and just sells extra if there is some? Yeah, so we had a whole segment on this. Just go back to the beginning of this video. We started off with Meta. I personally don't think they're going to end up with extra compute to sell.
Yeah.
Sam says, I'm long NeoClouds, own Nebius and Iron. But we should all be aware that AIs are good at scripts, coding, etc. But physical AI is still a way off. They've spent billions, years teaching it to drive without success, whereas a teenage human can pick it up in about 20 hours. Yeah, this reminds me, Roy, do you remember when Figure did their like intern versus robot like folding challenge for 12 hours? And they saw who could fold. And like the number ended up being close to the same, even though the intern had to take like bathroom breaks and social media breaks and all this other stuff. So that's a starting point. It's only going to get better from there, I think. And once you unlock physical AI, the entire global economy changes. But obviously you need to implement it at scale, which could take decades.
Yeah, I think physical is not as far away. Like AGI, I think is pretty far away, but like it's hard to say.
You don't even need AGI, man. Like if
No,
a
you
robot can work in if a robot can do like a blue collar job, you don't need AGI for that, right? Like, so in that example, the figure robot, folding clothes or whatever, if it just does that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it doesn't ask for a raise, it doesn't take sick days, it doesn't go on vacation, it doesn't go have bathroom breaks, it doesn't complain to you, it doesn't slow down its pace. You just need to charge it every now and again. Like, bro, the productivity increases you're going to get are going to be astronomical once they all compound. Now, what do you do on the economic side once everybody loses their money because they have no source of income? It's a much deeper issue, but like from a pure productivity perspective, it's going to go up, not down.
Yeah, I think by the end of the decade, we'll see serious inroads there.
Yes. Okay. I am now holding a position Nebius, average $80. Congratulations. Iron average $8 and CoreWeave average $96. Which of all of these do you think outperforms in 2027?
Man, I think we're just going to say the companies we're invested in, but I mean, there any of them could be perfectly valid answers. I'll say for Iron, they have unsold capacity, and I think it's more of a win, not if they sell it. That's going to be for a ridiculous premium, and that stock will be up meaningfully from that. I think Nebius, obviously, it's done the best as far as price momentum. People can look at that and say, "Oh, it's overvalued." It's not really if you zoom out at all. It got a little ahead of itself for sure, but it could be the outperformer just because I think that their approach is the best out of the three. And CoreWeave from the valuation standpoint, and also just from the sheer size of it and the current misperception of the market, in 2027, it's far enough away. I think it will be CoreWeave. I'd say, there's probably a 45% chance it's CoreWeave, and then maybe Iron, maybe 15 or 20%, and then Nebius the rest, whatever that is. So, number 2.
Sure. I mean, I'll say it's like, 45% CoreWeave, 50% Nebius, 5% Iron. Because like I think over the course of 2027, the differences in leadership, dilution, all of this other stuff like is going to become more and more apparent. Like that gap is going to widen. Now, the reason why I would have Nebius and CoreWeave sort of at 50-50 is because CoreWeave is significantly more undervalued than Nebius is right now. Nebius is trading at a premium right now. It's bigger than CoreWeave, even though the fundamentals don't justify it.
I'll say this too, like CoreWeave and Nebius, I don't see a scenario where they would be lower than here by the end of 2027. I don't see it. There is a scenario with Iron that they are lower.
Yeah. Risky investor, $20. Give me one stock I go all in next week. Given the change in compute narrative after taking my Nebius profits. Love you guys.
Yeah, so Risky, thank you so much for the donation. I mean, like, it's not financial advice, and you need to make sure all in, like, if it's a meaningful amount of money, don't feel the need to do that. But I would encourage you to, like, at least look at the CoreWeave Meta and Nebius video that I did. The misperception, I focus more on CoreWeave because, that's the one that I'm in, but I also think the news was really wildly misunderstood. If you're bullish and you understand what's happening in the space, if you don't know CoreWeave well, take some time, look in. But I think that one's well worth a look.
Yep. Highland, thank you for the $10. Says made 4% for a 2-week put option on ServiceNow. Thanks, Tevis. Yeah, congrats on your gains, and thank you for the generous donation. Yeah, guys, Cape Verde scored against Argentina. What is going on in the world?
Is it tied?
It's tied, yeah.
Yeah, Cabo Verde is pretty good. Their goalkeeper is insane, man. Like, this is a fun tournament. And, like, the prediction market stuff, that's one of the I think that is the reason. There's others, too, but why Robinhood's doing so well is predictions markets are ridiculous, and their launch with Rothera is really, really strong. So, man.
Yeah. Connor asks, are you guys both going to Tanner's wedding? I mean, if we're both invited and we can go, then sure. I'd love to, be a part of that.
Yeah, I am going. He invited me, so I'm like, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So at the very least, I'm sure you're invited, dude. Like at the very least, if I don't get to meet you in person by then, I'll get to see you then. So,
Yeah.
or you'll be my +1 to the wedding. Like either way, you're in.
Like I said, if we're invited and we can make time, then yeah, we'd love to join. Jet Set Harry says CoreWeave to be bought by Meta? ? I don't think so.
No.
Thoughts on Semi-Analysis article? Yeah, what did you think about this, Roy?
You know, I saw people referencing it. I couldn't find it. I found quotes, so I just looked at it, very briefly because. So
I'll share it. I'll share it with you. Hold on.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to pretend to have read something that I haven't. So I saw this, but I hadn't read the article.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the main protein of it. We believe that both takes are erroneous and that Meta's data center and compute procurement will accelerate, not slow down. CapEx in 2027 will be shockingly high. So, yeah, Serenity here. And by the way, Serenity is like the #1 in X on subscriptions because he's been incredibly successful. Says, I'm personally expecting a sharp V recovery, especially with the names that crashed 50+% from this narrative. Yeah. What do we think?
Yeah, I don't know about their CapEx, but I don't know that that's what the article is saying versus like just CapEx in general. Like Sim-Analysis does a great job too of like keeping track of like the pricing points on a lot of these. And so they're seeing like this real-time data come in. And if you were expecting like, hey, this is a signal that demand is really not that robust, you would be seeing indications of that somewhere. But you don't see it in pricing. You don't see it in announcements that companies are making. You don't see that in deals that are being made. There are some question marks there as far as like how big this is. I still think the market is underappreciating it. So, yeah, I'll have to look for the full article there. It's probably, I'm sure it's on their site, but.
Yeah. Thoughts on ABCL? It's up 136% year to date.
Canadian company, British Columbia, Accelera. I was invested in Accelera for a while, and I like it. I've not kept up with it, but there were other things that fell, and I was just like very bullish on them, and I wanted to add. So sadly, I think I probably would have been making more if I had stayed in Accelera, but yeah, if the thesis there plays out, well, like between that, like. I think a lot of what's been happening, and I'm not keeping up with Accelera as far as an individual name. If you look at the biotech stocks, I believe that they were the top performer in 2020. It's been a long time. They've been dead in the water. You see a lot of favorites out there that have just been terrible for shareholders, and a lot of those are up, and there's some good reasons for that. So maybe there's something more here, but no, I'm not going to get back. And there's like. It's one of those things where it took a while for me. It's kind of a simple, you're either looking at a very oversimplified thesis, and it made sense to me, and then like the nitty gritty and the details as far as how all that worked. I'm like, I just don't understand it as well as I feel like I should. And there's others that were just a clear investment to me. And you won't own it because it's Canadian.
Exactly. That's the entire reason I won't own it. I refuse to own anything Canadian because they're just going to lose money. So when Cayenne says with regards to the Cape Verde team, when the goalkeeper is the best player in your team, it means your team sucks. Increase says he specifically said Travis was not invited to the wedding. Tanner said Tristan is invited. I heard he's inviting Tevez. Yeah, we're gonna see. Dude, I love our audience, man.
Yeah,
they're just the best.
Yes.
All right, let's. Yeah, they're just hilarious. Better buy CoreWeave at 80 or Nebius at 200. CoreWeave at 80, I'd say. But yeah, CoreWeave at 80, dude. I'm old enough where I remember Nebius at 80. Okay, that was February. Nebius at 200 is crazy pants. CoreWeave at 80 all day, every day.
Yeah. It should not be 80, and it's frustrating, it's holding some shares, but man, I loaded up. Like, it wasn't just a couple of leaps that I bought. I sold some things. Like, I'm no longer in Wix. Wix was in my swing portfolio. Really think that base 44. Yeah, I had to free up some money, dude. So I took some gains off of some other stocks, exited Wix entirely, and even took a little bit of BM&R off the table. I hated doing it. I want to add this summer, but I'm like, dude, I don't know how long this CoreWeave dip will last. It might last longer than I expect. I just don't see any scenario out there, like none, that I'm going to regret buying a lot of CoreWeave in the 80s. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I think it's gonna prove to be a great buying opportunity personally. But again, if you guys lose money, please don't sue us.
We're only doing what's right for us, and we may not be right.
But if you lose money on CoreWeave, it means I'm losing more money on CoreWeave. Okay, I don't need the lawsuit, and even if you do sue me, it means I'm probably broke, so I can't pay you. So just take that with a grain of salt. Bean says Tanner did verbally say Tevis is invited during his live. Dude, is this how we find news nowadays? It's like people tell us through the chat what other people said during their live streams. This is
yeah.
Is this what it means to be like living in 2026? I don't know. Jarrett, if meta advertising AI is pretty damn good now, why not bury the microscalers with free cash flow? Does meta really need it?
I mean, it's the right thing to do. If like with SpaceX, should Eli have just sat on his hands and said, "Hey, we got unsold capacity, but let's do nothing with it"? No, you basically owe it to shareholders of the publicly traded company. If you have an opportunity to make some good money and it doesn't harm your business, why not do that?
Yeah, I don't understand the premise of this question. Like, the AI, the advertising is going to get better, and they're just going to make higher, spread as a result of that over time. Like, what does he mean by bury microscalers? What's a microscaler?
Maybe.
Anyways, Roy answered the question. We can move on.
Yeah.
Patrick says, if you sue me, Tevis is going to pay you in Canadian dollars. And I think that'd be great. So go ahead and sue me if you want some free Canadian dollars, because they're not worth much, especially if you're in the great United Kingdom like I am, bro. Our currency it's like fucking pesos. Okay. Chiwong says, have you two gentlemen been rejected from the stock combine challenge?
Yeah, I think that they wanted a tighter audience. I didn't get an invite, but I mean, I'm friends with all those guys, so it didn't really bother me. Really, I like to think of it as that's the Premier League, and I'm in the league that you get relegated to, and I would get relegated just because of my performance this last year. So, like, yeah.
I mean, look, man, I think people love an underdog, okay? And yeah, I don't know. I really like. Somebody commented saying, "Oh, we should make a fantasy draft for stocks, and then like everybody puts in $20 or whatever, and then you just have first, second, and third." Like, I think you could do something like that. But anyways,
there is something that they do exactly like that. They've been messaging me, and they've launched a few things, and yeah, fantasy stock league. I've not played with it. They're not a sponsor or anything. They just
All right. Jet Set Harry asking the important questions in order of the best: tacos, steak, or sushi?
It's easy. Tacos.
Probably the hardest question I've gotten all night, honestly.
Oh, that's an easy answer because tacos are so versatile. You can have breakfast tacos. You can have, the very authentic Mexican tacos. You can have Tex-Mex tacos. You can have like Taco Bell tacos if it's like 2 a.m, I guess. But like, tacos are always good. Any meal of the day. They're incredibly versatile. You can put just about anything in them. Love steak, love sushi, but yeah, tacos.
I got to disagree with you, my friend. I got to go with sushi on this one because sushi, I would argue, is equally as versatile. You can have it with... Dude, I had sushi with fried chicken the other day. Like, they had like little bits of fried chicken in it, and it was sushi. it tasted like shit. But the point is like I had it and it was interesting to try a new thing. And plus, I think like sushi is one of those things where like I can have, 20 pieces of sushi and not feel like horrible after. If I had 20 tacos, I would be throwing up afterwards. So,
and that's true of anything. But taco, easy tacos. Like you said, sushi that you can eat it with a wrong pairing or wrong way or wrong time, and it's just not right. So, yeah. But yeah, like there's no bad answer there.
Yeah,
we're having burgers tomorrow. So burgers with fries.
Raven says Travis is going with Subway for sure. That's how you guys know. Like, you guys have been viewing the channel for years because when my Subway arrived and I had to close the stream to go eat my Subway sandwich, or if you guys are real OGs, you would have remembered like 3 years ago where I actually ate sushi on screen. Like those were the peak, the good old days, right? I think Steven will get mad at the both of us, Roy, for not picking steak. He'd be like,
steak is great, and you can have it for breakfast, and it's great. Steak and eggs, man.
Steak and eggs, yeah.
But yeah, like I benefit because I live in Texas. And yeah, steak's more expensive, but when I came down, like we were routinely seeing ribeyes for like under $5 a pound, like nice ribeyes. That's just insane. And there is a point where you've eaten enough steak where you're not sick of it, but it's no longer like, oh man, steak. You're like, yeah, steak. So I've never had that with tacos. Never.
Yeah. Gumbel says the Celsius washes anything down. Oh man, I don't even know what to say to that. Blake says I had sushi for lunch. Nice. Me too. Gumbel says Tevis buys shares in rice fields in Cambodia. Yeah, man, with the amount of sushi that I eat, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like a part, owner in one of those. But the vegan in me is crying. Yeah, it should be crying. It's probably malnourished. Next question. Any opinions on Nike, Roy? I think it can't really get any cheaper. Those are famous last words.
Yeah, let's see what's it at here. Nike is down to $40 a share. So I don't know. With these type of legacy businesses, it takes usually a lot longer than people expect and sometimes have patience for with CEOs. We've seen that with Alex Chris and PayPal. People were not tolerating that pivot. So if they end up getting rid of the CEO, I don't know if there's talks of that at all or not, but there will be if the stock price action continues in that direction. It'll be yet another pivot for the same business. So they of course do pay a very nice dividend, or a decently nice dividend. I guess there's two things about it. Like one is they've been paying a dividend for a very long time. They're a very well understood name. And I do think if we get to an environment where rates are being cut and the yields are actually lower, a lot of the value dividend plays like Nike's will do better. But that's not the current environment that we're in. So I wouldn't surprise me if like between now and the end of the year that it's just, kind of choppy. I just think there's better opportunities out there. But like if you're investing in Nike, like the long term, you're probably okay, especially if you're just good with the dividend and being range bound. But I think there's a lot better opportunities.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, if you think Nike can't get any lower, look up the definition of a value trap. Cheap can always get cheaper. So just letting you know that. Judy, thank you for the $2. Judy says, sushi with Celsius, give me some bubblies. Yeah, that's a horrible combination. Judy, I definitely wouldn't want that. Have I had that before? Probably, if I'm being entirely honest. But I wouldn't recommend it. Naz says, poor Tevis, Steve won't fly to your wedding because he refuses to leave the States, and Tanner won't let you fly to his. This is the paradox of my life. Steve says, eat steak while you can, Roy. Texas is outlawing beef after midterms. Are they going to vote in some like left-leaning person, or what's going on?
For senator, yeah. Probably not. Like, I don't think he actually Talrico has a chance, but we'll have to see. Yeah, a lot of time between now and then. And of course, like that's hyperbolic. They're not going to outlaw beef. But man, yeah. It's more expensive now. Like on sale, it's $8 a pound, which is great, but it's hard when you like just a couple of years ago it was like $5 a pound.
Yeah. Yeah, BMNR is a good example of that value trap that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Big
Some
dog
movement, by the way, with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Sorry, finish your thought.
I was going to say there's actually some movement there. Bitcoin is above 60K again. Ethereum has rallied a little bit too. So we'll see. Maybe just a relief rally as well, but I don't think winter is too much longer, guys. 2 or 3 more months.
Jack with the $10. Friday rhyme. Amit is in Singapore on Grab's trail, but secretly chasing mail order bride tail. Tevis may pretend not to have the same mania, but he's doing also in Albania. Stick to your day job, Jack, but thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that, my friend. All right, next question. Question for Travis. If you own 0 neoclouds and you woke up yesterday with Nebius at 205 and CoreWeave at 82, how would you have allocated capital? Good question. Look, I think for the long term, Nebius is still the buy. Personally speaking, I know Roy and I disagree on that, but I think for me, CoreWeave is a more attractive buy right now in the short term, because I think that there's going to be an overcorrection. Like there has been an overcorrection to the downside, and I think that's going to revert to the mean. And CoreWeave can very easily see 120 again. And once it does, like that's a pretty good bump from where we're trading right now. So CoreWeave would probably be my buy right now. It depends on if I can do options or not. It also depends on like what the long term is. Just to give you an answer in this hypothetical, I'd probably end up buying both, but I would probably buy, maybe like 70% CoreWeave, 30% Nebius at these prices. And then once CoreWeave does revert to like 120, 130, at that point, I would make it closer to 50-50, because I think that CoreWeave goes to 130 before Nebius, goes up to like to 300, let's call it.
Yeah, and I don't think we disagree there. Like we both see Nebius as the highest quality in the space. It just, even then, there is a price. Like when you have a near peer, there's differences, but that's trading at a significant discount. It's not always the right move, but I think it is in this case for me anyway.
Yeah. All right. Who is looking forward to Hims and Webull earnings? Yeah, like I think with Hims, like the peptide news is going to be a really big deal, and that's going to be the main thesis to look out for in 26 and 27. So it's something to keep an eye on, I guess. Hims does not. Oof. Argentina almost scored. Hims does not really take up any of my mental capacity. Like I don't think about Hims all the time, like at all. But would I get back into Hims? It's not top of mind right now.
Yeah, I don't think I'll pay attention to either of the earnings for those. Webull, I just, it's a lower quality, not even my second favorite stock to invest in the space. Like it's just not. Looking into it, I think we both got into Webull and we both got out like right around the same time for very similar reasons of not trusting the leadership and the execution. So
we both made money on Webull, man, and we were only in it for a couple of weeks. And I mean, like you could call it luck, you could call it whatever, but like I think I got into Webull at like 12 or 13. I got out at 17 a couple weeks later, exactly because they had that deal with, what was it, Yorkville Partners, and kind of sketchy. I made a whole video about it. I know Roy made content about it too. Like if out of both of these, if Hims reports earnings, I'd be like, oh yeah, let me just look at the numbers. I don't even know if I would want to listen to the call or not. I would just like skim the high level numbers and see if they're still on track. Maybe go to their earnings report. Webull, I wouldn't even bother to look at the numbers. Like it's just so far not on my radar at all that I'm just not interested. Dr. Ron, any air covered calls that printed yesterday?
Well, yeah, I mean, I sold a bunch of covered calls for, I think it was 190 into earnings and got over $400, like $450 per contract, which is amazing. Wish I had sold all of them. I sold most of them, but there were some I was like, I'm still going to be careful just in case, even though I figured it was fine. So I didn't close out of those. Like there's no real reason to, in my mind. what's the risk? I make an insane amount of money and I lose my Air shares. I'm good
Well,
with that.
Yeah, 190. I think I wouldn't close, but I closed my Air covered calls yesterday, and mine were 130s for July 31st. I want to say, and I was up like 80 something percent or 70%. And I was like, okay, great. Let me just close these.
If we keep falling, I might actually roll down and get some additional premium. That's
interesting.
I've never done that before with covered calls. So
yeah. Well, look, I think the thing with Air is that if it has one volatile day upwards, then you can just get right back into those covered calls and just capitalize so much on the premium juicing right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Oracle looks very interesting here. Thoughts on adding here? Renee says.
I mean, it's kind of the same play. I mean, there's differences, obviously, and you have the legacy business attached to it. If you look at it valuation standpoint, it looks more attractive, but it's the same play as CoreWeave. There's concerns on Oracle and CoreWeave regarding debt. Same concern. And they're both, the growth lever that both are pulling is with inference. So I would significantly rather invest in CoreWeave, especially right here, than Oracle. But I don't think shareholders are going to be upset or it's a bad thing to own Oracle. It's clearer with CoreWeave. It's a pure play. That's the best way to put it, I think.
Yeah, I don't have any real thoughts on CoreWeave. I'm not really interested in getting into it. I have gotten into everything I've really wanted to at this point. I don't feel like I'm not itching to get into anything else. Maybe Palantir, but that's only if it fell under 100 or gets close to 100 again. But especially now that I even have the CoreWeave options play on, I have zero desire to get into any additional things for the time being. Jet Set Harry, if you could only hold 3 companies within the AI infrastructure for the next 12 months, what are they and why? Interesting.
I mean, CoreWeave.
Yeah, let's put CoreWeave Nebius as one. Okay.
Yeah,
that's one. CoreWeave Nebius.
So that NVIDIA too. I think it's mispriced, and I think it's not scary to own here. I will say, given the fall, I wouldn't have said this if it was trading at 90 or 100 air test systems over the next 12 months. I think that there's still quite a bit of upside in that play. I took profits along the way. I'm glad I did, but I'm not as there's a lot of other names in there that are potential better or as good answers as Air, but the first two for sure, I'm pretty firm on.
Yeah, I would say I don't know. I kind of like Micron as well.
Yeah,
I think memory is going to do very well, and so I would add Micron to that list. But yeah, do you recommend having some cash available to use during S&P corrections? Yes, always. A good idea to have some cash available. It's defensive.
I think as long as you have enough cash coming in, and if you don't, for whatever move you'd want to make. But what I usually like to do, and I don't actually now because of the CoreWeave drop, because I used all of it, was have some cash ready for earnings season, because the market will inevitably sell off something, and you'll see it as irrational, and you'll be like, oh man, I wish I had some money lined up. Every single earnings season, I see something like that. So this time I can't do anything about it unless I sell something and buy something else, other than maybe $1,000 or 2,000. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you guys recommend buying leaps on NVIDIA at this price if it's already 25% of your portfolio?
I mean, that's a question only you can answer. Would you be able to sleep at night? Look how much they dropped, the most red day last week. That'd probably be Wednesday. And see if you'd be comfortable with that, or if it'd be like, hey, I'm losing so much money, I can't stand this. But look, I personally wouldn't be doing that with NVIDIA. I think it's a great company. I wouldn't want to own that large of a percent in my portfolio.
I think if it's 25% of your portfolio, then you're obviously incredibly bullish on NVIDIA. I think one alternative thought that you can have, obviously none of this is financial advice. Please do your own homework. We're just entertainers here. But I think one thought that you could have is you could sell a portion of your shares. Let's say you have 25% of your portfolio. If you sell 5% and you go down to 20% NVIDIA, and you just take that capital and you buy NVIDIA Leaps with it, you can still lever up your position in that way and have higher exposure to NVIDIA while still retaining the same amount of capital invested in NVIDIA, so that you don't even go deeper than that. So that's also one thing that you can explore. Is CoreWeave a buy? More downside expected? I think we both agree it's a buy. Is there more downside?
I mean, I wouldn't think that there's much. You can look at the chart. You can look at where it's been previously. Earnings is about a month away. I don't think we have an official announcement on that, but it should be either very late July or early August. So, and that earnings, like, you never know what the market reaction will be, but they're going to absolutely crush expectations on bookings. And usually that's incredibly bullish for these plays.
Yeah. I think we're like getting close to a bottom if we haven't hit one already, but I think we're definitely getting close. We might have more selling this upcoming week, but I don't think it's going to be like, I don't think we're going to see these crazy prices like $60 on CoreWeave or something like that.
No. And the RSI like is one of a couple of indicators there that it's like it can drop more, but it doesn't really have room to drop too much more from here. See, RSI right now is
oversold
33 on the daily.
Yeah, it's
and 43 on the weekly. So it's I would have to look a little bit more because each ticker has its own personality, but usually when you see, especially in a bull market, that it's in the 30s or below, it almost always bounces unless there's like really credible news that just completely derails this. And I don't find it that credible like within a week or two. So
yeah. I can't believe Argentina is tied to Cape Verde right now at 90 minutes played.
That's crazy.
Staggering.
All right, so let's finish these up so I can watch.
Yeah, seriously. Talk Hood next. Do you think all-time high this year? Prediction markets, banking, record option trading, international expense. Yes, I think all-time high this year.
I maybe quarter four. I would say we might have to wait till early next year, like January even, but it can get very close.
Question: what's the max drawdown you guys had on your portfolio and are comfortable with? During Iran war in March, I was down nearly 30%. Yeah, I think I was down like 36, 37%. But then it totally flipped. And like right now I'm like up like 55%. So
2022, at one point from the peak in 2021 to where the trough was in 2022, I was down close to 60%. It was brutal and awful. Some of it, like, it's just, there's a lot of factors in it, but a lot of it was just because I was holding Palantir. So it worked out.
Yeah, dude, when COVID hit, February, March of 2020, I was definitely down over 50%. But thankfully, my portfolio at the time was only like, 20 grand or something. But it was like my entire world was collapsing because I was like putting $500 a month, something like that. And then I lost like 15 grand overnight or something like that. And I was just like, what is going on? But at that point I said, you know what, screw it. Like, let it go to zero if it goes to zero. I was so early on in my investing journey. But yeah, like live by the sword, die by the sword, right? If you invest in small caps, you're going to have big drawdowns. That's just something you got to accept. Is Dario trading on your data? Yes, I think we covered this. Do you guys recommend international exposure?
Nah. I have a little bit in the form of Nubank, and I wouldn't mind owning Mercado Libre. Like they're similar in a lot of ways, but that's my only international exposure. A lot of the U.S. companies that I'm invested in also sell internationally as well. So there's international exposure kind of built into that, and I'd rather be invested a lot more in America than elsewhere. But like there are selected plays that I wouldn't mind being in internationally. It's more of a not intentional, like I need international exposure. It's just like, hey, this is a great company.
Yeah. What are those books in the background? Is that Wheel of Time series? What do you have there?
No, this is from Brandon Sanderson. These are like the limited edition leatherbound. So Fergal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. It's one of the fun ones, it's a non-Cosmere, and just a lot of like really fine details and art, and it's done very well. So,
dude, Brandon Sanderson,
love the author.
Yeah, he's like the GOAT. Like the guy cranks out so many books a year, and
I'm actually distantly related to him too.
No, you're not.
I don't know him, but I am. No. I am. I'll tell you about it after hours. But I'll just say my last name. You know my last name. It's not a common last name, and his wife, her maiden name is the same last name. And I don't know her, but it's that other side of the family. There's like 100 of us in the world. So we've traced it, and I'm like, oh man. I sent him a couple of like notes, like this is years ago before it became like ridiculously popular. But I never got a response. So
yeah.
I do recommend leatherbound over featherbound. Featherbound are lousy. So
all right. Is the Canadian and US dollar strong against euro? Dude, US dollar has been like gaining. I don't know if it's over the euro right now. Canadian dollar is just crap. Like it's been losing value. Like it's its main job, but US is doing well. Wait, what do we? Oh, we have a foul. I thought we had a penalty. All right, next question. Great and Burek. No, I'm in London, bro. I'm not. They don't have that here. I had some. Had a bagel this morning. It was great. Is international traveling a good idea now? It's always a good idea. Expands your horizons, makes you more aware of how other people live, different cultures, and it makes you more interesting in conversations because you have different perspectives. It broadens your horizon. Like it's just great overall.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some more now that the PhD is done and I got a little more time and resources. So,
yeah. By the way, Japan, dude, the USD versus the yen is crazy. Like this is the golden age for US people to visit Japan. I'm telling you, it is so cheap now because of where the USD is.
Nice. Yeah, I want to go there too. Like there's so many places I want to go. Might get an opportunity this next year. So
yeah. Sven says, Canada, what will you do? USA or Belgium? Dude, I think Canada has to make it through Morocco first, and I don't think they're going to make it through Morocco. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Morocco has a great team.
Yeah, they're very good. USA will beat Belgium, I think. Just home field advantage is just so big. Losing Balogun is just it's a terrible red card, dude. Like it was so bad. But I don't know if they've appealed or not, but like the appeal's not going to accomplish anything. They like to affirm autonomy of the refs. So they'll be playing essentially like down the guy that's played the best. And Pulisic's great, but yeah, there's only one Balogun. So
yeah, the USA has they've been on a great run.
Yeah. Well, like the cool thing though is like if they get past Belgium, and Belgium's not like I was so glad that Belgium came back and beat Senegal, and Belgium's like a good team.
Crazy,
but man, Senegal and the United States do not match up well at all. Like United States, I think would be beaten by Senegal. I'm pretty sure. And with Belgium, I'm like, I think a weighted coin flip, United States wins. With Flo Balogun, like 2 and 3 odds, 66% chance of winning, but. If they get past him, like it's Spain next, I believe. No, there's no easy games at this point. Like case in point, Argentina and Cabo Verde.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like the Belgium game was absolutely staggering, and so many European teams have been so weak this entire championship. Case in point, Germany got knocked out by Paraguay of all teams. Netherlands got knocked out. Penalties, I think, is a horrible way to go. I hate it. That's the format. But yeah, you never know, man. With this championship, like whoever the favorites are, it's very difficult at this point. Yeah. Get busy living or get busy. Is that from Shawshank? I think it is. Let's see. Planning my trip to Japan in September. Cool country visit. Japan was amazing. Yeah, I spent the whole month in Japan. It was like lovely. I would absolutely visit again.
Yeah, the game, by the way, next week, like even if you guys don't care about soccer at all and you're like, ah, it's boring, watch the Mexico England game. That
Yeah,
in Azteca Stadium there in Mexico City, Mexico, like that. If you're looking at home field advantage, that is maybe the most extreme home field advantage of any sport in any stadium in the world, or it's got to be like top three. It's crazy. England is like a really really good team. Harry Kane is just amazing, but I mean they've got a lot of talent there, and Mexico is very good too. And like that stadium, I can only imagine like that's one where like I'm not even like a fan of Mexico. Like go Mexico, yes, I'm rooting for them, but um, imagine being a fan in that. Like that's a once in a lifetime type experience. That's why like you travel
yeah,
for
like
things like that.
well, so I was in like an English pub for the England game. It was electric. They just played like 2 days
Nice.
ago, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they were
Two,
down
three. Yeah.
1-0 up until like the 70th minute, and then they turned around with 2 goals, and the atmosphere, like it was it was great. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, like in Mexico, they had like a full, everybody out on the streets partying that they made because like I think they hadn't made it in so long, and so this was like them breaking a curse essentially, or maybe this was the first time that they, no, that they made it. But anyways,
It's
it's been a long time.
Yeah, and they're all clean sheets. Nobody scored against them. They're undefeated. Like they are very good, and the home field advantage in Azteca is insane. Like I feel bad for England because that that's like playing a finals of the World Cup against France. Like that's how hard that game is going to be. And they're a great team. Like England's probably third or fourth best team in the tournament. They're better than the United States. They're better than Mexico too. But in Azteca, man. But yeah, I'm watching that like a lot of these. I'll watch the highlights, and USA, of course, I'll watch the whole thing. But that's when I'm like, I don't know what time it is. I think it's on Sunday. I'm watching all of that. So
Yeah, I mean they're playing very soon, right after the last game, right? But we'll
yeah,
we'll we'll see what
yeah,
happens. I don't know if we're gonna
twice in
do.
88 games. That's right. That's insane. It's like it goes back like 40 years or something like that they've lost twice in Azteca.
They had a stat around England of how like what their win rate is coming back from a deficit they since like 1956 or whatever, and they had one win and 17 losses and like a whole bunch of like draws. And so the fact that they came back in their last game in itself was a huge deal because it was like a record breaking type thing. But same with Mexico. Like I think the games going forward are going to be electric. Some of these teams are they're looking really good.
So since we have 2 minutes left,
Yeah, let's
I
throw up this hot question, Roy, and then we'll have a
yeah.
chat. Rambler, last question says, "What's your average swing hold on each stock? Is it a few days to a few weeks or a few months, or until the price target is hit for the swing trade?"
It's usually the price target, or like with swings, they're more liquid in my mind than anything else. Even if I'm down on them, and that's Wix. I think it's going to be great. CoreWeave in the 80s is just like free money eventually. I think for me, like I could be wrong, and so I'm like I like money. Let me sell Wix, which I think is a good opportunity. Like I think quite good to one that's just stupidly obvious. So it's usually the price target though. So if like Wix, I was in Wix for basically a double, and if it doubled, I'd be out. If it happened in 2 days, awesome. If it happened in 2 years, usually 2 years is about the longest it'll allow, and that's a special exception just to accommodate certain macroeconomic factors, and that's BM&R.
Yeah, I would say similarly here until the price target is hit. I have a price target generally, when I go into one of these swing trades. Like for example, for CoreWeave, I think it's going to revert back to 120, 130 in fairly short order. At that point, I might even remove some of my leaps or remove my cash secured puts, right? Even if it happens next week, it doesn't necessarily need to be 2 years, even though I have the leaps for 2 years, right? So, or with Service Now, for example, I think it's going to revert back to 140s, 150s. And at that point, I might even look to reduce my position a little bit. But I think largely it's a matter of, do I think the market is starting to recognize what I recognized going into the trade, or are we still at a disparity? Like, is this still oversold or whatever the case is? Like, is my thesis still intact of why I entered this? And that could happen in days, it can happen in months, or anything in between. But it's really, is the arbitrage window closed, in my opinion, of why I got into this swing. But yeah, that was the last question. Over to you, Roy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, going back to the World Cup real quick, who is your pick to win it all? Like, mine is France. It's still France. That's a ridiculously talented roster. Like, I don't know who stops them.
I think Spain's looking really good. I think, I think Argentina was looking really good, but like, we'll see if they get knocked out tonight, I guess. But who else?
I mean, like,
yeah, France is a contender for sure.
There's dark horses out there for sure. United States is a dark horse. Norway is. They're more than just Holland, but like Holland is really good. So, but yeah. Morocco's like. There's a lot of really, yeah. Yeah, France is just like, I feel like the United States in the 90s, like the dream team for basketball when they go to the Olympics and they just crush everybody and wouldn't be close. That roster is so talented that you take their third best player and you put him on a roster anywhere in the world, and most of the time he becomes their best player. That's their third best after Dembele and Mbappe.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think we're gonna have many more streams between now and then. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know if we're going to have a stream on Monday. Maybe we do Tuesday instead. Or maybe we do a birthday stream. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm turning 32 in a couple of days. So
oh man,
I have to like mentally prepare for that.
What day?
On Monday.
Monday, okay. Yeah, I'm turning 46 on the 11th. So we have birthdays very close together. Yeah, 8 days.
Yeah, that's We'll definitely we'll definitely do birthday streams. That could be fun. But anyways, for this, I think we will have to wrap it. We are at the 2-hour mark, and that's usually our cue. Thank you everybody for watching, supporting the channels, and the lovely back and forth commentary. It's always really fun to do these streams because of you guys. Enjoy the 4th of July. Happy 250th and Canada Day, which just passed a couple of days ago. What a time to be alive. And we will see you guys either Monday or Tuesday, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Later.